Iran, formerly known as Persia, is home to one of the world's oldest continuous major civilizations, with historical and urban settlements dating back to 4000 BC. Farsi, the official language of Iran, is historically one of the most prominent languages of the Middle East and extended regions. Iranian culture is one of the oldest in the region and is famous for beautiful poetry, luxurious rugs, and lush gardens. In fact, the English word paradise comes from a Persian word meaning enclosed garden. Iran has the fourth largest oil reserve in the world. Iran became an Islamic republic after the Islamic Revolution of 1979. By the late 11th century, the majority of Persians had become Muslims, at least nominally. Islam is a religion of more than 99% of Iranians. Ever since the revolution, the relations between Iran and the US have grown intense. More recently, relations between the US and Iran have worsened after President Trump abandoned the nuclear deal before reinstating sanctions against Iran and countries that trade with it. Even after the strained ties, Iran still happens to be one of the most culturally rich countries with a history dating back centuries.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Diplomatic Enclave. I am your host, Khalid. The country whose ambassador I'm going to interview today has a lot of important peculiarities about it. As far as the natural oil reserves is concerned, it is the second richest country in the world. In its language, the word for the country means land of the Aryans. It also holds 60% of the world's oil reserves. Iran alone, I've named the country, has reserves of 125 billion barrels of oil. It is the world's oldest civilization with settlements dating back to 4000 BC. We have the privilege of having the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran, His Excellency Mr. Mehdi Honardoost, with us today in our show. Thank you very much, Excellency, to have given us the time. Mr. Honardoost, how long have you been here in Pakistan, and how has your experience been so far in the friendly country?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm here exactly 3 years and 6 months. And I found Pakistan excellent because the Pakistan was my choice for coming here. 20 years of my diplomatic life in last 3 decades concentrated in the area, in this region. And I'm sure that I'm so satisfied about my option. And I'm convinced about the working in the Pakistan for the relation of the two countries.
All right. So you must have been to many places across Pakistan during your tenure of 3+ years since you came here. Now, Iran boasts of a diverse geography. Visiting Pakistan, how similar or not is Iran to Pakistan?
One of the most important items that in commons for the two countries is the geographical characters. If you can find a lot of commonalities when you go around in Iran, especially in eastern part of Iran. And so sometimes it is difficult for you or any foreigners that comes to eastern part of Iran and he can find it is Iran or Pakistan. And I traveled and I visited many points in Pakistan during my tenure here. And really, I can say that also in Pakistan you can find some places that it is difficult to distinguish that it is the Pakistani area or Iran.
All right, and how is the Pakistani people, how friendly do you feel the Pakistani people are as compared to the Iranians? Because whoever I have met from Iran are extremely friendly.
Really, without any exaggeration, exactly to the point. One of the commonalities that you can, it is very important and very interesting for me is the hospitality. As you know, the hospitality is one of the most important identity of the Eastern society, and Iran and Pakistan, they are in common in this subject. And so I'm sure that it is so difficult if you want to find any country better than Pakistan in hospitality and good looking to Iranians.
Islam also puts a lot of importance on the rights of the woman. How do you evaluate the role of women in Iran, and what kind of measures have been taken by the government for empowering women?
We believe that there is no difference between women and the men in the society. Of course, the ability is different, but in the looking, we never have a bias looking to these two genders. For example, right now, especially in our foreign ministry and also in the diplomacy field, we have more than 100 women. They are engaged, and some of them, they are ambassadors, and we are so glad about it. And also in our embassy, we have two our diplomats, they are ladies, and we are so convinced about their abilities. And so it is something that the Iranian side many times emphasized, that the women should have the decisive role in the society, and something that it is maybe it is interesting for you, more than 62% from the seats of the universities in the are occupied by the women.
All right.
62% from our seats in the universities. Yes, many Western observers, they came to Iran and they became surprised that more than 50%, exactly 62%, they are under the seats they are occupied by the women, and we're so glad about it. And this is something that we would like to announce to the world, that yes, they can share to everything in society, of course adapted to their abilities. It's some differences that they have in because we believe that to gender justice, not gender equality. We believe that gender justice, it means that some duties in the society, the women can do better than the men and gents. And so they are so active in Iran. For example, in Iran you can find more than 2,000 women NGOs, and also many deputy ministers, and many of them also in the Iranian Islamic Majlis, and also in some councils and some executive posts and private section. One of the most powerful section in our in business also is under the control by the women, and so they are so active, and we are glad about it, because from the first day of the Islamic Revolution, we announced to the world that we should promote the position of the women in the Islamic society, that in spite of this, unfortunately, in some countries, they are deprived.
Excellency, you talked about the Persian language. Our national poet, Allama Muhammad Iqbal, wrote in the Persian language, and I've heard he's very popular in Iran. Would you tell us more about that?
We loved him, rahmatullah alayhi. And evidence for this, in Tehran, we have one very important street under the name of the Allama Iqbal Lahori, rahmatullah alayhi. This street is very famous. And also, it is very common name in the many Iranian families. And you can find a lot of Iqbal in their family, in our families. And so, rahmatullah alayhi, Iqbal is so famous in Iran, maybe more than Pakistan. منفعت ایک ہے اس قوم ہے نقصان بھی ایک ہے سب کا نبی دین بھی ایمان بھی ایک حرم پاک بھی اللہ بھی قرآن بھی ایک کچھ بڑی بات ہے जो मुसलमान भी एक. We have a lot. I can recite them many, maybe more than you.
I'm sure, because even that I know, but I don't remember by heart.
I love it. Not only me, all of the generation, old generation, new generation, they loved him. And also we are trying to invite one delegation from the Iranian TV come here for making a documentary about the Allama Iqbal.
Speaking of television, Excellency, Iranian television is watched by so many in Iran. Here also, our television industry is a very important one. Do you feel we could maybe collaborate on working on documentaries together? Maybe we could go to Iran and make documentaries. The Iranians could come here and make documentaries. Like you said, they want to make one on Allama Muhammad Iqbal, and maybe joint productions as far as television is concerned.
This is the short capacity of the huge potentialities that we have. Yes, we invited some groups from the media to Iran, and also it is the current status in our affairs, but something that more than this is many times I emphasized about it when we are talking about this potentiality for cooperation and interaction between two sides. I talked about it with the relevant departments that, something in common between two societies is our families. You can find a lot of cheap and immoral movies and dramas that unfortunately they are in the access to our youngsters and the families. Exactly, we said we believe that it is the cultural invasion to the families. That is the base of our societies. It is important, but yes, in some societies it is they don't care it. But we believe it is very important. How can we do something for preserving our families? It is something that we should keep our eyes open to this important phenomenon that unfortunately nowadays all of the Eastern and Muslim countries, they are under the attack of the cultural invasion. And so I believe that according to the Iranian abilities, as you know, Iran have very Iranian movie makers. They have very good and successful presence in the international festivals, movies.
So many films have won awards
internationally. Awards,
yes.
Yes. And many times we propose to the relevant department in Islamabad that Iran is ready for any contract, for any exchange of some productions in this regards, and totally 100% concentrated on the values of the families and the Eastern values and Islamic values also. And so one of the great and important grounds for the cooperation and interaction between two countries is the cinema and movies and TVs, and it is something under the negotiation between sides, and inshallah I hope that the both sides move faster.
You talked about cultural innovation. When a culture of a country is strong, Excellency, the cultural innovation does not have that much of an effect, as is evident with the culture in Iran. What have been the influences of your culture, and what are the components of the Persian culture?
Arts should be tangible for the people. When we believe that we should try to give more and transparent and open and so clear aspects of the arts to the minds of the young generation. You know something that now that it is an important item, it is the common danger for all of the countries that I said, especially in the Eastern countries, that they are concerned about the cultural aspects of the life. And so we believe that the arts, has a very important role in the life, not only for this world, because we believe that the next word that we go, it is exactly, it depends to how the quality of your life in this world. And so we believe that the impact of the art and music and some other aspects of the culture on the daily work, daily life of the peoples. They are very important, they are touchable, they are tangible, and not only in the poetry and also some kinds of the arts, you can find the importance of the role of the arts in the daily life of the peoples. And the Iranian rich country, Iranian rich with the rich culture, we have a great potentials for the presentation, for the giving to the youngsters that unfortunately nowadays they are most of our youngsters in the world. They are attention to the some Western culture, and that they have a lot of consequences for our societies.
It's very important, sir, for any generation, whether it be young or old, to be educated properly in order to understand the values that a country stands for. How much of importance does education have for Iran?
Iran, as you know, 92% of the Iranians, they are educated. And right now we have more than 15 million students, and close to more than 1 million students in university. And education is so high, and the rate of the education in Iran is more and maybe better than many countries around us. And it is something that the Iranian government, after revolution, tried the best for the promotion of the rate of the number of the students in the universities, in these schools, and especially, as I said, right now, most of our girls and they are in the schools and the universities, and so education is very important. And it is something that can support your prosperity of your country. For example, if you look that Iran under the really heavy sanction in 4 decades, how we reached to some important and very high position in the science, in some know-how, in some high techs. How? No country in the world can say that they granted to us. For example, in nanotechnology, in biotechnology, Iran is the 6th grade in the world. It's better than the many European countries. How can we obtain it? Under the education, under the systematic education that we had in Iran. As you know, Iranian scientists, they are so active in many countries, and if you look to some European countries also, you can find the most Iranian, most famous in the world physician, surgeons, and also scientists. They are active. It means that the role, that it is the role and the importance of the education in the prosperity of my country.
Another very important thing for any country is its economy. How would you categorize the Iranian economy, and what are your major exports, and which are the countries that you deal with as far as the economy is concerned?
Of course, nowadays we are not in the normal period. As you know, we are in the full-fledged war with the Americans, and they put a lot of unilateral and unfair sanctions to us. And you know that Iran is not under the sanction of the United Nations. Iran is not under the sanction of the Security Council of the United Nations, and it's not sanctioned by the EU or some other bodies and circles in the world. Only the American unilateral approach to the Iranian as some part of the bully approach by the American. And so nowadays we are not in the normal case that we can talk about the Iranian business and the economy in the usual, but Iran is the big country. We have a lot of amounts of the bilateral trade with many countries, on top of them China, Russia, Turkey, Iraq, Pakistan, and some around our countries, in neighboring countries, and also many countries in the world. But unfortunately, the American, they spare no efforts for to put the pressure to the people, to our economy, and so I believe that inshallah, and by the grace of the God Almighty, inshallah, we can bypass this also, this pressure and this problem, and inshallah, in the normal case, we can offer all of the Iranian abilities as a big country, as a full of the land of the full of the opportunities for the business opportunities, and with this huge potential, we can support, we can interact, we can cooperate with our country, with our neighboring countries for the better life, for the better trade and business.
You talk about the United States. Let's talk about the relationship between Iran and the United States, or the absence of one. What are the latest developments in the region and the positions of Iran with regards to the recent tensions, or the tensions that have been there since some time, between Iran and the United States?
It is better if you go to the sum, you consider all of the aspects of the matter. For example, for many years before the revolution, we have a lot of bad memories regarding the American interference in our affairs. They caused, they shocked, and also they toppled the legal government of Iran exactly 65 years back, during the Dr. Mossadegh, that he was the legal prime minister elected by the people, but the American, by their mercenaries in the Iran, they cooked against them. And so it is one of them. After that, they have a lot of interfering in our affairs. And before the revolution, of course, let me tell you, one of the reasons for the Iranian revolution was that totally the people, they were against the presence of the Americans in our society. Iran is not a small country. Iran is not just born country, and we believe that we have everything that we desire. And anyway, from the first day of the revolution, when we cut the relation with the Israelis, they had already, before the revolution, they had embassy in Iran, and we closed it, and we hand over to the Palestine. From the first day of the revolution, the strained relation between Iran and the United States, they came in the new stage, and they did everything that they could against us. Day by day, we came to the worsen and worsen relation between two sides. And it is better we raise a question. What is the essence? What is the raison d'être? What is the essence of the strained relation between Iran and the United States? Maybe some, especially youngsters, especially the young generation, they became under the American propaganda that Iran is a danger to the peace. Iran supported terrorist groups. Iran is able to make atomic bomb. Iran, and some others blames and accusations. But let me tell you, that is totally lies. You know, when our supreme leader, as a upper hand in our country, especially because the Iranian, they are the Muslim countries, and 98%, more than 98%, they are Muslims, and mostly Shias. They look at him. Iranians, according to their belief, Iranian according to their values, Iranians according to their old and rich culture, they never and never can accept kneel down to Americans or bend their heads to Americans. And in one word, they are not able to accept American hegemony. And yes, there are some others, as the Iranians support Palestinians. But it is not the option for the Iranian government. Iranian, they are Muslim, more than 98% they are Muslims. We believe that the support of the Muslim is some part of our values. We believe that it is, we should answer to the God Almighty that what did you do? What did you during your life? You know, it is very famous, some part of our principles, some part of our thoughts and by the Islam, that you should look to your neighbors. Anyway, support of the Palestinian against the Israeli regime, and also objection and Iranian stand against some interfere by the American in the region, it became totally led to this situation, and comes to more the day by day, American put pressure more and more and more, that definitely we can say that it is the unique sanction in the world. You can never find it in any history of the countries. But definitely it is not so important for us.
In 2015, we thought there might be a revival of some kind of relationship when there was a deal that was signed between the United States, Iran, and the parties concerned. Then the United States backs out of that deal. Since then, there have been a lot of things that have been happening as far as that relationship between the US and Iran is concerned. There has also been an accusation from the US as far as the oil tankers in the Oman Sea is concerned, that that came from the Iranian side. Then there was the dropping of the American drone and the repercussions thereof, and recently we hear of financial sanctions against many of the Iranian leaders. What do you make of all this, and what is the Iranian point of view, starting from the deal that was made, then the US backing out of the deal, and then the oil tankers, the drone? I would like to have your point of view on all of these issues one by one.
The first day of the American, they tried to more military presence around the Persian Gulf and the Oman Sea. That was definitely flexing muscle by the Americans. American knows very well that Iran is not a small country. Of course, the start of the war is so easy, but to put the end is not so easy. It's not easy, and one country can start the war, but one country cannot put the end to the war. And they know very well the Iranian capabilities. They know very well that the Iranian totally more than 85 million population, they are united in this matter, that the Americans, they have very bad behavior towards the Iranians, and many times they insulted to us, and under the new administration of the Americans also. Regarding to the rapprochement and overture between two countries, yes, for many years ago, the Iranians accepted a negotiation with the 5+1 frame, under the 5+1 frame, and one of them was the United States of America. And we believed during that time that 50-50% position that is good for any coming to the table. On the table, we can put everything on the table. We can talk about it. And so after 5+1, you know, after the one agreement that we reached after 10 years negotiation, but by the American walkout from this important agreement, not only that this agreement put the end to all of the obstacles in the way of the Iranian economy and business, but also it was the hope, the great hope for the peoples in the world, that once again it is the ray of the hopes that the diplomatic channel they can work, and we can put everything under discussion in the diplomatic dialogue. But American unilaterally they destroyed everything, and right now nobody can nobody can trust to any dialogue with a few important countries after close to 10 years. And so anyway, after that, Iranian leaders, they said we cannot trust on this country. They said negotiation. Once again we come back to the first. How about these 10 years? How about all of our abilities and our capabilities that right now are freezed because it was optional? Iranian side put the end to, as you know, Iranian put the end to enrichment, uranium enrichment more than 20%. We said, okay, it is the bilateral agreement, and we said, okay, as you know, if you go to the IAEA, International Atomic Agency, many times they emphasize that Iran is in the good manner. Iran is Iran is committed to everything that he should do up to now, and after many years, when we reached to agreement and we set aside all of our activities, but we received nothing. And how anybody can imagine that one country can tolerate this behavior? And so Iranian government, they said, partially we walked out. It is also this, it is some part of inevitable right of the Iranians that under the 5+1 agreement, that if some parts they deny the commitment, the other side can do. And so it is some part of our inevitable right regarding that the partially we invite and back out, we back out from the 5+1 agreement. And after that, as you know, many countries as a dealer, they come to the term they would like to have as a mediation, but you receive the position of the Iranian supreme leader that we cannot trust to Mr. President of the United States. Nobody in Iran, it is not the position of our leader only, it is totally supported by the peoples and all of the members of our parliaments, that yes, we cannot tolerate. Because right now we pay the cost of the full-fledged war. How can you say negotiation? How can we accept with your knife in your hand and you invite me to the negotiation? You can set aside the knife, you can set aside your insult, you can set aside your bad words, and after that 50% we can talk about it. But under this situation, never and never. It is something that the Iranian leader said, and American also knows that the cost of the starting of the flare up of the tension, it is so high. But unfortunately, some countries they have a lot of mischief for the flaring up of the tension. I'm so sorry about it, that how can they imagine that they can be safe when the fire in the region comes between two important countries.
Recently, the oil tankers, Gulf of Oman, were attacked, and the US said that it was Iran that was behind it. I would like to have your point of view.
It is better question we ask to anybody, not only to the American as our enemy, but also to anybody, that please tell us what is the Iranian beneficent in this. When we are talking about in our country, we are talking about the peace with the Prime Minister of the Japan, Iranian attack to the tanker of the oil of the Japan in our region. It is ridiculous. It is totally the scenario. It is the plot. It is by our enemies, because they should, you know, how many reasons you want, I can tell you, I can elaborate it you how many countries they are beneficiary among in this tension. We are trying the best for the peace and tranquility around our borders. We believe that all of the countries around in the region, they are able, they are self-efficient for the peace and tranquility in the region. Something that only we request the American, please leave us alone. Only this is the mercy that you can do. Please, all of the countries in this region, they are able to do everything that they require, that they want. And so we never need to any interference. And it is definitely clear that was the plot by some country that they would like to mischief between Iran and some neighboring countries. And also it will be caused for the presence of the big powers in the region.
What about the American drone that the Americans say was in the international area when it was dropped by the Iranians, whereas Iran has said that it had entered the Iranian airspace when of course you dropped the drone. I would like to have your point of view on that as well, so that things become clear from your perspective.
It is something also that I invite all of the public opinion in the world. That really you think that Iran said welcome to tension, to the conflict, military conflict with the American? Iran said welcome. It is something under the wisdom, sagacity of the Iranians that start and kick off the military tension, military conflict with the American? No. And why? Iranian explained everything in details, A to Z, that if exactly according to the facts that we offer to the United Nations, that regarding to referring to these facts, the American drone, it came to Iranian space, and and also the Iranian announced that one American spying plane was so near, so close to this drone with some passengers, but we never attacked it. And the Americans said, thank you. And so, dear brother, many times Iranian higher authorities and leaders, they announced that we never said welcome to any conflict. And so it is also the new scenario and the mischief by some countries that they are warmonger and the benefits is under the conflict in the region. And as you know, according to the facts, the American drone invaded to Iran and violated Iranian space, and definitely the Iranian automatically defense system they attacked.
After this drone attack comes, as per the Americans say, that they were launching an attack on Iran, and then they did not. They backed out. Then came reports that there was a cyber attack on Iranian companies or parts of the Iranian government. Some cyber attacks happened from the US side. And lastly, but not the least, we have heard, of course, and you are in knowledge of that as well, of financial sanctions against Iranian leaders. I'd like to have your point of view on these 3 points as well.
The first part that you said, it is some American bluffing. That is not true. That is not true. And the second, all of not only Iranians, but also some diplomatic corps, they are so shocked that how can they put the sanction to the leader of our Islamic Revolution? And also they said maybe the foreign minister. Dear friend, we are in the strained relation with American. We are stand off against American, but you can refer to the international law. You can refer to international regulation. That is possible that any country can put the name of the foreign ministry of the one country under the sanction, and how can they do it? And but unfortunately, the American, they destroyed not only the agreement with the Iranian, but also from some other international agreements. And it is something that the burden of the matter is on the shoulders of the American and some person, some countries, that they should ask to the American that what is the reason and what is the repercussions of this.
All right. Also, there were some reports that came out in certain sections of the media regarding the use of airline companies, regarding the use of Iranian airspace by international companies, that there was some kind of a restriction imposed one way or the other. Would you like to elaborate on that as well? Is there any restriction of any kind as far as the usage of Iranian airspace by international companies?
Iran, one of the privileges of the Iran is Iran located in the very important, is located in some geographical point that it is so important for the connectivity between East and West, and so many airlines prefers for the they used airspace of Iran as a cheaper route, and right now we didn't receive any new changes in this issue because nothing happened, and Iran is very big country, and I don't think so that for any small accident in the south part of Iran impact to this great and big space of the Iran.
All right, sir. From this whole gamut of tensions between Iran and the United States, let's come to the positive aspects of the relationship between Pakistan and Iran. How would you categorize this friendship, this love, this cooperation that exists between the two friendly countries?
Iran and Pakistan, they have a lot of commonalities. We have a lot of great potentials for the more interaction, more cooperation, more than the past. And so something that I'm convinced, something that I'm thanks to God Almighty, and that during my tenure here right now, our bilateral trade became 2 times more than 3 years back. In spite of that, we are under some shortages as the banking transaction that we haven't. And with this great potential of the two countries, with the great economy, and also the complementary economy of the two countries to each other. Everything that the Iranian they have, Pakistan is good market. And everything that the Pakistani they have, Iran is good market. And we can talk about it many, many hours, that with great potentials that we have. But totally, I can give you these short words regarding the relation between Iran and Pakistan, that we are in the good trend, we are in the good way, but we should try faster than the past, because the time is flying, and something that the two great nations, two lovely people of the Iranian and Pakistani people, they are deserve to that is the better business relation, because the business is the tangible side of the relation. And it is not enough that we can talk about only about the cordial and sound relation in political and some other aspect of the relation. It is better we work on the business, because with these great potentials, as you know, Iran is this young country with the many capabilities. Pakistan is the young country. It means population. 65% of our population is under 35 years old, and also identical in Pakistan with these huge potentials of the labor force. We can create a lot of jobs, and we offered some important and the giant project for the better business between two countries, as the Iranian IP. Nobody can ignore, nobody can avert their eyes to the advantages and of the Iranian IP that can totally change the face of the economy of the country, and also it can create million jobs for the youngsters and the labor forces and also for the jobless, and also they can put the end to the power failure in the country. Of course, more than this, it can be used as a raw material of many branches of the industry, and really it means that the Iranian gas is the economic revolution in the country. And I hope not only that is good deal for us, but also for the Pakistan. It can be pave the road for the one step towards each other as a two really really two brother countries, not relation on the base of the short-term benefits. You look to all of the countries in the region. One by one, I am ready to give you what is the weak point, what is the vulnerable point, ready for any flare up the tension among the countries. But please, anybody that is able, show me between Iran and Pakistan there is nothing. Of course, some third parties try to make it some problem between two countries, but they are not able to do this under the sagacity and the vigilance of the Iranian leaders, Pakistani leaders. And so I can say very frankly that inshallah the future belongs to the two nations, two lovely nations, and I hope inshallah we can activate all of the potentials that we have, and it is something that the burden of the matters is on our shoulders as an embassy here, and also the Pakistani dignitaries, peoples to peoples cooperation and interaction, and also the two governments. And inshallah we can look to the horizon of the future so clear for the two brothers, the country of Iran.
Of course, inshallah. Well, we've also seen that in the high-level visits that we've seen between the leaders of the two countries, that this friendship is only there to grow and prosper. There's so much more that we can discuss as far as the gamut of relationship between Pakistan and Iran is concerned, but I'll just kind of summarize it in the words of His Excellency Mr. Omar, who said some time back that the relationship between Pakistan and Iran as the two great Islamic countries and two brotherly, friendly nations is very pivotal in the region. Throughout the world, you may not find any other countries as similar as Iran and Pakistan to each other, with such a huge opportunity and potential for cooperation. These two nation states can willingly become a successful model of cooperation for their neighbors, and this can be a starting point for a higher goal convergence for the region. I think better words could not have been said. Excellency Mehdi Honardous, thank you very much for your time, for having cleared out so many important points as far as the tensions in the region is concerned, and also the beauty that Iran offers as far as a country, as far as its people is concerned. And I hope that one day me and my friends will also have the opportunity to go and visit your beautiful country.
The doors are open. The doors are open.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.